We want to find out or learn what happens when copper sulfate solution undergoes electrolysis. It means what we are going to learn now is electrolysis of copper sulfate solution using two copper electrodes, copper electrode 1 and copper electrode 2. Alright? The first one is regarded as copper cathode, and the second one is referred to as copper anode. We are going to check what happens once there is a current flow into the system, what happens as well. You know what to do. Subscribe, give me some thumbs up, and then push on the bell button for constant notification. Don't forget to share with your friends, networks, and students. Let's go into this. Let's discuss this the way it should be in the first place. Now let's look at this. Suppose we have two copper electrodes. Two copper electrodes. We weigh them before electrolysis begins. We weigh them on a scale balance and then find out the mass or their weight, their mass, so to say. We record it and keep it. Then we connect them back into the voltmeter once again because we want to know what happens during copper sulfate electrolysis. Our concern is that. So what do? We take notes of the masses of the two electrodes. One is anode and the other one is cathode. Take notes. Once the switch is turned on and current begins to flow, at a steady rate, bubbles will begin to generate or form around these electrodes. But it all depends on the nature of bubble or color being formed around these electrodes. After some time, it is noticed that around the copper cathode, okay, a bright coating color is formed. Bright coating color, okay, is formed. That is it. Bright coating color is formed around the copper cathode. While, and this happens at the upper part of the copper cathode electrode. Also, copper anode electrode, there is some amount of color being formed, but this color is dull, absolutely dull. Look at this, dull colored. And it happens at the lower part of the anode at this point. But that of cathode happens at the upper part of the cathode. Okay? Look at this. Upper part, there is a bright coating color as a result of electrolysis. There is a dull coating color at the lower part of the copper anode, which happens to be one of the electrodes. So what this means is that now, if the two electrodes are to be weighed again, take notes. Remember, we weighed them before we started electrolysis, and then noted some of their masses, okay, or noted their masses. Now electrolysis is going on. We have observed certain things. Once the electrolysis is over, or once the process is over, we weigh them again. After weighing them the second time, it is observed that the mass of the copper cathode electrode is greater than what it was when it was initially weighed. And then this is even lesser than what it was when it was initially weighed. The summary is that the cathode has gained more mass to itself, while this has lost some amount of mass, making it have less mass value because of this. So if we understand this, we need to understand as well that the copper sulfate solution does not change in any way. It maintains its nature. Only that there are deposits of different colors. One dull color at the lower part of copper anode, and then bright color at the upper part of what? Cathode electrode. That is it. That's what happens. Excuse me. Then the next thing we need to understand is this: why electrolysis is ongoing. Of course, you should know there could be some reactions between the sulfate acid, or rather copper sulfate solution, and water. We must understand that. So the first thing we need to understand, the first one is what happens as we consider this. As we consider this, what happens? That's the first thing we need to know. So what happens is that when the copper sulfate solution is in place and current starts flowing, current begins to flow into the system, what happens is that there is ionic dissociation because of the energy that has been given to the system as a result of the passage of current. There is ionic dissociation, or we call it dynamics. So this becomes Cu2 minus 2 plus, this is 2 plus. And then this dissociates into XO4 2 minus. Ionic dissociation. That's what happens there. The first one. The second one is water is also involved. So what happens here? Exactly what you know. Hydrogen ions, of course, and then hydroxyl ions. That's what happens at this point. Okay? Then the third one, which is expected, is that copper, okay, 2 ions of the copper coming from what? The anode. Of course, that bears that. Now drift towards the cathode. And that happens because the cathode will always give something important. That's what happens here. And at the end, this tends to copper. That's all. Because they will cancel out, and then what will remain is just copper. Because there is 2 here, there is also 2 here. They cancel out. And we have the resultant that's copper. Oh, this is interesting. Now the next thing we need to understand, this can as well be reversible, where we have number 4, copper giving birth to Cu plus 2 electrons. So that is it. So if we understand this dynamics, it means we have understood what happens when there is electrolysis of copper sulfate solution. And that's exactly the way it is on the board. And this will help us to understand the applications of electrolysis, which we are going to do subsequently in our class. We are going to do this first one, second one, and third one, how it works. Alright? So we take note of this. If we have understood this, questions coming from this could be, what is the color deposited on the copper cathode electrode? Then you have the options. What is the color deposited, or what is the nature of color deposited or formed on the copper cathode electrode during copper sulfate electrolysis? Please do well by telling them it is by picking the option bright coating. That's the color is bright coating. Whatever is formed there is bright, is clear. Whatever is formed and is formed at the upper, take notes, upper part of the copper electrode. This one is the anode, is dull and is formed at the lower part. These are things, these are some of the questions that you might encounter in exam in terms of a copper sulfate solution electrolysis. I am signing out. I am signing out once again to prepare for another class. Of course, you know what to do. Subscribe.